vent or a spoiler or an aerodynamic aid on the exterior is there because it has a functional purpose, because it really earned its way onto the car. It needs to be there. The interior is the same way. Everything should be authentic. So if it looks like carbon fiber, it's real carbon fiber. If it looks like aluminum, it's real aluminum. There's nothing fake about the design at all. Advanced driver reconfigurable technology. This is pretty cool. This really lets the driver customize the interior and the technology of the interior to themselves, to their personal taste, and the type of driving that they're doing. So the instrument cluster, for instance, is a fully reconfigurable display. You can set it up according to several different modes and have it display the types of information that you want to see. And we'll go ahead and get into more detail about that later. Dual seat strategy, this is very exciting too. We've got 2 seats for the car, a GT seat, which is kind of a great all-around sports car seat, and then the seat which is pictured here, which is the competition seat, more aggressive, more hardcore. If you're going to take your car into a track event or something like that, this is a great seat for that. An all-new steering wheel that is unique to Corvette, designed only for Corvette, from the ground up. It's an all-new armature, an all-new design. It's a very, obviously this is your connection to the car, so it's right in front of you, so it has to be specific for this task and specific to Corvette. So with that in mind, we started a sketch blitz, and we asked for help from all of GM's design studios all around the world. So everywhere from Germany to South Korea to Sao Paulo, of course Detroit, Los Angeles. And when you ask people and you ask designers, hey, we'd like you to sketch on Corvette, you get a lot of sketches. And we got literally hundreds of sketches pouring in from all over the world. A lot of cool ideas, a lot of really different things, kind of some far out things. And it's really cool to see what people are literally around the world think that future Corvette should be, what it should look like. And it was very cool, even for somebody in South Korea, maybe they've never seen a Corvette in person. Even so, the idea of the Corvette was so powerful that they could come up with a really cool design idea. But as you look through all these images, all these sketches, there's certain themes and certain ideas that kind of start to float to the top. And those are really worth exploring. And what this slide represents is kind of the final 3 themes, the finalists, if you will. For each one, there's kind of an initial sketch that's more loose, more kind of the first idea. And then as you work on it, you refine it and bake in more detail, bake in more functionality. And so each sketch has kind of that early idea type sketch, and then more of a finalized, detailed, more highly rendered version of it. And so these were kind of, like I said, the 3 finalists that we had. And after reviewing and looking at them with design leadership, it was the sketch in the upper left-hand corner that I happen to have done. That just thought I'd point that out. Fortunately, that was the one. They made the right decision, and that's the sketch that they chose to go for it. So now we've got a sketch, we got an idea that we want to go for, but that's really just the first step. That's like the first part of the first phase of the design process. After that, you have to see what this thing actually looks like in 3D. So up until this point, it's been 2D only on a computer screen. Now we're going to move into developing a full-size 3D clay model. And so you can see we've got kind of the sketches on the left, some kind of idea sketches, and then how they translate into the clay on the right. Now this is it's a full-size clay model. We put some seats from the C6 in it so you can actually sit in it, get a sense of what the space is like, how it feels, make sure everything is reachable, everything is ergonomic, and it just feels like a really great place to be. We can evaluate the spaciousness of the interior, make sure there's enough leg room, enough shoulder room, that sort of thing. And you're kind of constantly going back and forth between the clay and the sketch. Because you sketch something that looks like a good idea, you put it in the clay, and maybe it doesn't quite look like how you imagined it in your head or had it on the paper. So once you see it there in the clay, you go back into the sketch, you work on it some more, develop it more, you put it back into the clay, back into the sketch. It's a really iterative process. And it's not just for this forward compartment either, the whole vehicle we use this process for. So here you can see a sketch from Kelly Crago, he's one of our designers, of the whole rear compartment of the car. And this is a whole project in and of itself. It's a pretty complicated area, but we've got to be able to store the target top in the back, of course. So there's a lot of design work and design thought that goes into even that rear compartment area. And you can see again, we've got the sketch, and then we've got a full-size clay model mock-up of it, so we can actually evaluate it in 3D. We can cube the whole clay model together, all these different parts and pieces, and basically have a complete clay prototype interior that you can actually sit in and experience. And of course, as time goes by, you do more work, you get more detailed, you start putting in, we start getting into finer and finer details. So you can see here we've got vents represented, buttons represented, we've got a shifter in it, even things like you can see the A-pillars and the windshield header, sun visors, making sure those are working, those look nice and integrated. Basically, it's a real interior, but made out of clay. And when you get down, after you go through this iterative process, you've really purified the design, finalized the design, and that's what this sketch represents. This really is kind of, after going through that initial phase, at this point, the design is pretty much set. We have it, we know it works, we know it looks great. And from this point forward, up until now, we've been kind of making big moves. We're moving inches, and from this point forward, we're really talking about millimeters or less in the development process of the car. So at that stage, we start working on what's called a vision model, and this is really important because up until this point, we've only seen sketches, 2D images, and the clay model, which is just clay, obviously. And a huge part of the interior and how you experience it is the materials. And in this case, that's a huge part of the design story for the C7 Stingray, for all the materials. The whole interior is cut and sew wrapped. It's made out of stitched pieces of material, stitched together by hand, applied, wrapped, the trim is wrapped by hand. And we really wanted to represent that and make sure that what we had pictured and what we had planned is actually going to work and look great. So instead of clay, we use foam. It's a hard foam called Ren, and the entire interior is recreated in this material that we can wrap with leather. We're also building carbon fiber pieces. Our shop is the design studio is fully equipped. It has an autoclave. We can make carbon fiber pieces. We can make aluminum pieces. You can see Harlan checking out one of the carbon pieces on the right there. He looks pretty happy, pretty pleased. So here's just a close-up detail. Some of the parts and pieces. Literally every part that goes into the car has to be created from scratch. Real aluminum, real carbon fiber pieces. And this is really the first time that these parts ever really exist in reality. So it's pretty cool. We put the model together one last time for a final fit and finish check before it all goes apart to get painted and wrapped and plated and that sort of thing. And then we have the design leadership come in and look at it, make sure everything's okay before we go that final step and complete the model. So this is Ed Welburn, our Vice President of Design, evaluating the model. And a couple cool things about this photo is, it's just kind of random trivia, but this review that we have with the leadership, we call it a brass show. And I used to think when I was a younger designer that that was because all the brass was there, right? The top guys. And actually, the reason is because back in the day, when GM was using a lot of chrome, in the shop, the way they'd build that chrome is they would actually make it out of brass. So they'd make all those prototype chrome pieces, grills and so on, out of brass because it's soft and easy to work with. And so when the leadership would come in to look at the model, they're looking at a lot of shiny brass parts, so it was called a brass show. So we don't use brass anymore, but that term is still used. So the other cool thing about this photo is this is in a room, basically a garage at the design studio called Mechanical Assembly. And this is sort of the home of the 59 Stingray. You can see the images on the walls behind us. And at any given time, if you wander into that room, you can see the Stingray sitting there getting some work done on it, or maybe the Buick Y job, something like that. It's a very cool place. There's a lot of history, and it was a real thrill to be able to use that space for this review. So from there, the model comes back apart again. We wrap everything with leather, we plate everything, we brush the aluminum, we polish the carbon fiber, put it all back together, and when it's all back together, it basically looks like a real interior. And when it all comes together, the first time you see it all together, it's the exact same feeling that you have as a kid on Christmas morning. It's just fantastic, because you're really seeing the car as it really is going to be for the first time ever. This is when it really becomes real. We even have functioning screens in the model, so the nav screen, the instrument cluster, it all works, it all actually functions, so we can demonstrate that. It's just some more shots of the model. Again, it basically looks like a real car. Now, one of the things that we can do with this model, because it does look so realistic, is we can do some customer research. And we actually took the model out to California and brought in a group of sports car customers. So we had, some Porsche guys, Ferrari guys, some Lotus guys, and Corvette people too, and had them evaluate our model, which is on the left, against real vehicles. So in this case, the Nissan GTR on the bottom, the Audi R8, and the Porsche 911. And we had all the badges covered, so they didn't know necessarily what brand the car was. They certainly didn't know that what we were showing them was a Corvette. A lot of these guys know a lot about cars, so they kind of had an inkling anyway, but that's how we run the clinic. So we asked people to rate these designs as very appealing. How many of you would call this design very appealing? And when we did that, the Nissan GTR got 22%, so 22% of people will call that design very appealing. I kind of think it looks like a pickup truck, but they thought 22% thought it was very appealing. The Audi R8, known for their terrific interiors, right? They got 20%. And the Porsche 911, the almighty Porsche 911 got 12%. So, something happens when you cover up that Porsche crest. It loses a little something for some people. We got 46%. So we came out clearly ahead of these other of the other competitors in the segment. And actually, these cars, the 911 and the Nissan, the Audi, they're really around 100 grand at least. And so, you saw the pricing that was released yesterday. What we were showing is very accurate to that. So to be able to really solidly beat them, knowing that we've got a car that's almost half the price, so it's pretty cool. Now, there's a lot of other components that go into the car as well. So for instance, steering wheel. You can see, again, the same process that we use for the rest of the interior goes into these components. So initial sketch and the finalized design on the right. The steering wheel, like I said, was developed specifically for Corvette. It was bespoke to Corvette. And it's the smallest diameter steering wheel that GM's ever done. And that's really important because that small wheel really gives you that sporty feeling with the car. It makes the car feel more nimble, more lighter, because you're not sawing away at this big wheel. But it's a challenge to do because we've got an airbag to package and switches to package. So you have to fit a lot into a small space. You also have to make sure that, of course, you can see the gauges clearly through the wheel. So we did a lot of virtual reviews to make sure that you could actually see the gauges through this new smaller wheel. Seats, again, a whole other world in and of itself are the seats. There's a lot that goes into it. So again, we start with a lot of sketches. So you can see a lot of sketches from one of our designers, Alex, mainly for the GT seat. And then these are some more finalized sketches. So the GT seat on the left, the sketch that kind of led to the final design. And the sports seat, a couple sketches, again, from Kelly Crago on the right, showing this idea for the sports seat, much more aggressive, more sporty. And then again, we go into clay, we evaluate them in 3D. So you can see down here at the bottom, these are the clay models that we made in the studio for the seat. And then the black seat on the right was actually really the first C7 seat ever built from the supplier. The finalized seat design, GT seat on the left, of course, sports seat on the right. Both have rigid back panels, hard shell back panels. The competition seat's got a high gloss black finish, piano black finish. You can see that in the cars in the conference center.
Yeah, one
interesting feature about the seat is we really wanted to go for this thin, lightweight appearance, and we we had a very light, efficient frame. We had this thin shell back panel. But we also have to worry about that side airbag. And typically, a lot of companies, a lot of designs, you'll actually make the seat bigger to cover the airbag. But in doing that, you really make the seat bigger everywhere, even in places where it doesn't have to be bigger. So we really took that as a design challenge and said, we're going to keep the airbag as its own separate element. So you can see that pod on the side of the seat. That's the side airbag. And we treated that as a separate design element and really styled it and designed it to look good in and of itself, and then kept the rest of the seat very thin and very light. And again, that goes back to this kind of authenticity and honesty about just not trying to hide it, just being honest about it and making it look good. Another shot of the GT seat showing off the cross flag emblems, the chrome cross flag emblems on the top of the seat. Instrument cluster, again, this is a whole design project in and of itself. We really wanted to take advantage of this new technology that's available with displays to create a reconfigurable cluster. So something that you can actually change and modify depending on your personal taste and the type of driving that you're doing at that particular time. So what really set this idea in motion was a sketch on the upper left. You can see that center portion with the big speedo in it. That's a screen. And then we've got hard gauges, actual traditional gauges with needles on either side. And you can see we kind of played with this idea and evolved it and looked at kind of different ways to do it, evolving more towards the bottom right. That's pretty similar to the final design we ended up with. And then if we go to the next slide, you can see this is the finalized design. So that central portion of the screen, of the cluster, is a screen. It's an 8-inch reconfigurable high-definition screen. And then on the left is a hard speedo, a traditional speedo. And then on the right are fuel and temp gauges. But that center screen, you can reconfigure and you can set up according to what type of driving you're doing and your personal taste. So there's 3 different modes. That first mode that we saw was a touring mode. And in that mode, the tack is, if you can go back to the touring one, the tack, there's always a tack in the center. That was it's the most important gauge that you're going to be looking at a lot. You're really going to need to be able to see that. So no matter what mode you're in, you've got a big tack right in front of you. But in this case, it's shifted over to the left a little bit, and that makes more space for these other reconfigurable elements. So you can display turn-by-turn navigation. You can display temperatures, playlists, phone contacts, that sort of thing. Now this is the sport mode. So this is really the pure sports car mode. So big, serious, simple tack right in the center, right in front of you. But you still get the reconfigurable elements. So those small gauges on either side of that tack, we call those pocket gauges. Those are reconfigurable. You can have them show temperatures and various other pieces of information. The center is reconfigurable too, so you can see now it's showing like a playlist and speed that can just as easily show a friction bubble or tire pressures, that sort of thing. And then finally there's the track mode. This was inspired by the display in the C6R race car, that big bar graph tack. It's very big, it takes up the whole screen, so it's really readable in your peripheral vision. You've got the HUD too, but you can reconfigure the HUD as well, so it's important to be able to have a function where you can see that tack nice and big and bold, something you can read even in your peripheral vision. This one is actually biased more towards the higher end of the rev range, so you can see the lower rev range is kind of down on the left. So again, more for track, for high performance driving, that's the type of rev band you're going to be operating in. And even in this mode, there's still a lot of reconfigurability, so that whole area below the tack bar is, again, you can show a friction bubble, you can show tire temperatures, a lot of different pieces of information that you can have there. Now these modes you can of course change via the controls on the steering wheel, or you can have them linked to the vehicle mode. So the drive mode selector that's down on the console by the shifter, that can toggle between the several different vehicle modes, eco, touring, sport, track. And you can link that to the cluster functionality. So when you change the vehicle mode from, let's say, touring to sport, not only does that change suspension settings, change steering efforts and that sort of thing, but it can also change the cluster mode from touring to sport. So you feel this physical change in the car and the way it behaves, but you also see that visual change in the cluster as well. Now you can link this, so when you change the drive mode, it'll change the cluster mode. You can also unlink it. So if you like being in touring mode, but think the race mode is really cool in the cluster and you want to do it that way, you can do that as well. So you can set it up however you like it. Details. Lucy's going to go through some of those for you.
We have some nice new features on the car that I wanted to walk through. Not all of them, but some of them. We have added a structural grab handle for the passengers, so now they can grab on both their right and left hand. We've also added a lot of functional storage, which is really nice. So in addition to the center console, we've added a nice big storage bin behind the 8-inch display in the center of the vehicle. And in that pocket, we also have a USB port, so you can plug in your phone, you can put the screen back up, and then you can have a concealed storage while you're charging your iPod or your phone. And we've also added a removable separator in the cup holder, so we have deeper cup holders now, bigger cup holders, but you can remove the partition, so you can use that as a single storage space for sunglasses or other longer items. Also in the center console, we have a SD card reader, an aux jack, and 2 USB ports. We've had the authentic carbon fiber trim on both the seat backs and on the IP trim plate. And what I wanted to mention is this is all handworked material. So they actually layer the carbon fiber in layers, put them in a form tool, and make the parts. And it's all a lot of handwork, as well as all the wrapping that we've done in the cars. A lot of handwork is involved in that. This is the other carbon fiber piece, and it's on the GT seat. And we've also, in the seats, made some great improvements on that. We've included ventilation in the seats, and we've introduced the power recline now. So it's no longer a manual recline, it's a power recline. From an engineering standpoint, we've introduced an adjustable door trim feature so we can get good alignment to the instrument panel from the door on the driver's side, which the customer will never see, except for they'll see that they have a nice fit between the 2 parts. And we've also introduced an IP plaque at the bottom of the center stack, where if you order your car, you get the Corvette Stingray plaque, but you can also custom order a personalized plaque with your name and VIN and saying it's built for. And if you get a museum delivery, you can get a special plaque that says museum delivery, built for your name and your VIN number. We also have some accessories available in those plaques if you want to further personalize your car. And Ryan's going to go through the color and trim availability in the interior.
So this is how the interiors lay out from a color and trim point of view. Some of you have been looking at the order guide and trying to figure out what's going on. It's a lot easier to see the images. 3 trim levels: 1 LT, 2 LT, 3 LT. The 3 is, they're all cut and sew wrapped, so they all are wrapped with accent stitching. But the level 3 is when you get the genuine leather wrap. It's I call Provence on all the major interior surfaces. And the way it works is the color. There are 5 colors available. So jet black, gray, adrenaline red, Kalahari or calamari, some people call it, and brownstone. And as you walk up through the levels, you get more and more color. So a 1 LT, all black is obviously all black, that stays the same, but For a gray interior or a red interior, that color is on the seats in a 1LT. When you jump to a 2LT, you get seats and armrests. So the 2 armrests on the doors and the center console armrest. And the 2 is when the Kalahari becomes available as well. In the 3, that color moves on to the instrument panel, the dashboard, and the doors. So you can see for a medium ash car or adrenaline red car, a gray car or a red car, the color jumps onto those cockpit features. So that cockpit that wraps around the driver, the smaller cockpit on the passenger side, that's kind of the full color interior. Now for the Kalahari version, it goes to what we call a dipped interior. So instead of that breakup like we have in the gray and the red, it becomes a full Kalahari interior. So everything from that, that line down becomes that Kalahari color. So it's a very distinctive look, and it's unique to the Kalahari and to the brownstone. So you can see below there. It's a little dark, it's hard to see, but the brownstone interior is also dipped. So again, everything from that kind of upper line down becomes that brownstone color. It's a very rich kind of luxury look to it. Now the cars down here in the bottom right-hand corner have been the show cars that we've shown so far. So the 2LT Kalahari in the middle row, and then the Adrenaline Red 3LT, those are the reveal cars that were in Detroit. And the dipped Kalahari, the 3LT Kalahari, and the Brownstone were the 2 convertible show cars, the one in Geneva and the one in New York, and the one that was in New York is here. So that the blue convertible that's in the conference center has that brownstone interior. The Laguna blue, the light blue coupe that's in the conference center has a 3LT gray interior. Seats, again, showing both versions of the seat in each color, black, gray, Kalahari, red, and brownstone. There were a few suede packages available as well. So on a 3LT, you can order the upper garnish and trim, so the A-pillars, the windshield header, sun visors, the rear header, the rear quarter trims, that kind of the whole upper trim part of the car in black suede. It comes standard with a taffeta wrap. It's like a fabric wrapped trim, but again, the suede wrap is an available option. Another option is if you get, you can get a leather wrapped steering wheel and a suede wrapped steering wheel and a suede wrapped shifter, but that comes with suede seat inserts on a competition seat. So if you order a competition seat with suede inserts, it comes with a suede wheel and a suede shifter. Speaking of suede, this is the brownstone version, and you can see on the car out there probably a little bit more clearly that this actually has a lot more suede in it than the other interiors. So for the brownstone, you get the door bolster inserts, the door armrest, the console armrest, the seat inserts, and that passenger side cockpit feature, that kind of arch on the passenger side in brownstone suede, and everything else is either brownstone leather or black leather. So looking at all these interior combinations and colors that are available, you can really create a lot of different looks with the car. So we just put together a couple that became the actual show car vehicles that we used for the reveal. The Cyber Gray exterior with the Kalahari interior really gives you that great kind of GT sports car look, more towards the luxury GT side of the spectrum. Again, just another image of that. And then going into the sport direction, right, the kind of hardcore sport, torch red exterior, adrenaline red interior. Go one more. Again, really taking it more towards the hardcore, very sporty side. A lot of different ways you can break up and mix and match the colors to create different looks for the car. That's it. Thank you. I know there have been a lot of questions. We've been getting a lot of questions about Kalahari and how that actually looks. It's a color that tends to look a little bit different in photos than in reality. So we've actually got a piece up here from the car that Lucy brought from the plant next door to anybody who's interested in seeing what the Kalahari actually looks like in person. You can come up here and take a look. Any other questions? Well, the seats were being developed, together, but at a certain phase later in the program, because there's so much testing and validation that has to go on for the seats, we had to kind of take the GTC first and validate that and make sure it was going to work, and then move on to the competition seat. So that's why there's a little bit of a delay there. Well, we've got the Kalahari is on the lighter side. It's not as light as cashmere, and then the gray is pretty light as well. That's a pretty light color.
How about pricing?
What specifically?
On the different interiors from the 1LT to LT.
The pricing. Well, that was released yesterday, I believe. It was about 2,500 or so, 2,800 for the 2LT, and then about 8,000 for the 3LT.
You mentioned on the 3LT that there's Napa leather on the seat.
Right. Right.
Couldn't find anything about
No, the Napa is the seat leather. The leather that we use on the doors and instrument panel is called Provence. It's a natural leather, just a different grade and a different grain. The Milan is also leather. It's and it's very nice. It's a little bit more hard wearing than the Napa. The Napa's got a very kind of refined feel to it. But the Milan is a little bit more hard wearing, so that's the difference there.
How much harder would you say the competition seat is with a regular car? It's tougher than a lot of different since you can't sit in one.
Right.
You call it firsthand,
For me personally, the competition seat it is very aggressive. It holds me very well. But I haven't had a chance to take a long trip, unfortunately, yet. But I feel that it would be very comfortable even for a longer trip for me. But it's such a personal thing. Everybody kind of fits into the seat a little bit differently. So, but for me, if you fit, you're going to be comfortable. Yes.
The larger guy comparing it to a C6 seat, was it a smaller seat or not?
I would say it's overall about the same. I think we've the overall size is about the same. The sports seat, the sports seat is definitely more aggressive. The GT seat is, I guess I'd say, slightly more aggressive than the current seat. But I think one of the major differences is that the current seat actually, the C6 seat, it has decent bolsters. It kind of got this bad rep in the press for not having any support, but the support's there. It's just the seat's kind of not quite as stiff as it should be. And this new seat is much stiffer, so the kind of bolster support is similar, but because it's so much stiffer, it really works a lot better. Yeah, we actually that one sketch had a track map in it, so we've actually been toying with that idea. So still trying to figure it out how to make it work, but yeah.
Do you have anything to talk about the rear characteristics of this fiber that's inherent in the leather?
I would say it's the same with the wear of the microfiber. All the materials we use meet the same wear. All the materials we use meet the same durability requirements, so I would say it's about the same.
Brownstone going to be available as a 2LT option?
No, it's 3LT only. The seat's got fans actually buried in the foam that blow air through the perforated inserts. It's ambient air from the interior. Yeah.
Does the car have a backup camera?
Yes, it does. Every car's got a backup camera. Yes.
How about blind spot mirror indicators?
Blind spot mirrors. No, I don't. We don't. No, we don't have the blind spot detection.
Yeah, Ryan, will you be able to add an option where you can get a GT seat in the driver side and a touring seat in the other side?
Yeah. Mention that to Harlan. And to Tash. That'd be a weird crash test that we'd have to run, I think, to do that.
How rigid are the seat sliders when you're moving around, and what about the wear characteristics of the microfiber? And so, how's it gonna look down the road after touching it, handling it, sitting on it, or anything else?
Well, the wear characteristics of the suede are, the suede's, very similar to what we're currently offering on the C6. We can get suede inserts in the seats. The wear characteristics are, I think, pretty much the same, or very similar to the leather, so it shouldn't degrade.
Easy to keep clean and
Mhm.
your skin oil out and all that?
Actually had, this is sort of an embarrassing story, but I had a ZL1 Camaro that had suede inserts in it. It was a GM car, and had my dog in the back going somewhere, and she puked all over the suede inserts, and it cleaned up fine, and nobody knew until now. So now when I go back, I'm going to get into trouble, but no, it's very durable. No, it's very rigid. It's very rigid, yeah.
And what color was that ZL1 until now?
It was red with the machine wheels. I don't know if we have any adrenaline red pieces here, but we've got the brownstone represented, of course the black, the gray, and the Kalahari.
What level you have to go through to get the HUD?
2LT, yes.
Have you done pricing on the Z51 package?
I believe that was released. I believe it was
2,300.
yeah, 2,800. Yeah.
So for a 3LT, it would be 8,000 plus the
Correct.
28.
How similar red is the adrenaline interior with the torch red exterior? Something that fights itself?
No, they go great together. Actually, the debut car that was in Detroit and at the actual debut, and then at the show, and the one that was on Good Morning America, that's a torch red with adrenaline red interior in it. Yeah, it's a very powerful look. It's cool.
What level trim does the heated seats come with?
2LT, I believe. Yeah, 2LT. Then, and when you get heat, you get vent as well, so that comes together.
Car and Driver magazine had a convertible with the Kalahari, and the upper, it was a 3LT, the upper trim was a little bit different. It had one less panel in that picture. Which one is it?
It's this way. This was the correct way. So you get. I think we're gonna have to figure out some prize to give him because that's like the most observant. That's not an option yet.
How does the width of that new car compare to 13 on the passenger side?
The interior dimensions are very similar. So, I would say that the kind of the cross car distance here is probably slightly smaller than C6, but from a practical point of view, leg room and that sort of thing, it's very similar.
Brownstone, is clay, is standard, is that?
Yes.
Is it for all the other?
You can get suede inserts for in the seats for all levels, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, Brownstone, all leather.
No, the brownstone comes one way.
Since you're talking to a older group here in the majority, it's sometimes technically challenged. How difficult is it to reconfigure all these screens?
It's not hard actually. There's a controller on the steering wheel, kind of a four-way up, down, left, right controller on the right side of the wheel, and when you hit the one side of that, you get a pop-out box that comes out with all the choices on it. You just select the choice, hit enter, and it switches. It's very similar. It's in practical terms, it's exactly the same. We have more cargo tie downs now in the rear compartment. So there's loops in the back, there's two on the floor, a couple on the side panels, so you can strap things down and secure things a little bit better. Yes, it is. Yeah, so the battery's on one side, there's another smaller pocket in the other corner of the car. I haven't done a back-to-back. Okay, there it goes. I don't know, how would you done a back-to-back to the audio? Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
You have the top stowed in the trunk, is there any room for any suitcase or anything in there, does that take up pretty much the whole?
There's still room left. It's very similar to a C6. There's a kind of a rigid bulkhead that you put in place to lower the top, and that separates the luggage area from the area where the top comes down into. So you still have enough space for, I'd say an overhead bag or something like that.
Right, okay. Can you pop the trunk on this one over here so we can see it?
Yeah, sure. I think we can do that.
Fantastic. Enough room for a set of golf clubs plus a suitcase?
Sorry?
Set of golf clubs plus a suitcase? In the
I don't know. What do you think? Golf clubs and a suitcase. Golf
small
clubs.
suitcase. Duffel bag.
I guess it depends on how big your suitcase is.
You said it has an SD card. Is any purpose to that other than playing music or something?
Oh, sorry?
The SD card, what function does that allow you to give you other than maybe selecting your own music? What's that for?
Yeah, you can, it's a way of bringing your own media to the car, so, songs, that sort of thing.
Pictures?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. The electronics are shared. There's we call it a sport theme for the graphics. So the graphics have a sport theme to them for the Corvette. So the graphics are different than other GM cars.
There's still a glove box on the passenger side.
Dealing with acoustics coming from the rear, noise coming from the rear compartment.
Not sure what the question was, but we have more acoustics to block out more of the noise coming from the rear.
Is there a glove box just
for storage on the passenger side?
Yep.
Yes, and it's actually electronically actuated, so you hit a button to open it. And what that gives you too is if you have the top off, the top down, when you lock the car with the key fob, it locks the glove box as well.
With that in mind, being able to lock it up, I heard about you said top down, whether it was lock up, locks the screen, locks. Somewhere to jump into the car, set up where it will go off, the alarm system will go off.
There is an alarm system for that, yes.
So it would activate,
Yes.
top
Yes.
down, somebody jumps in there, it would lock.
There's an intrusion sensor system, yes.
How does the acoustic level inside the car compare, from that background noise compare?
Better? Less background noise, yeah?
Will the new one have the MPP exhaust? Miles a while?
For which?
For, you know?
Yeah, NPP is available, yes.
Okay, very
Yep.
good. Standard with the Z51?
I don't believe so. I believe it's still an extra. Just have to check with Harlan on that one.
Standard with the transport. Yeah, it came on the transport. Can you comment on the new parking brake?
Sorry?
Can you comment on the new parking brake?
Sure. This has an electronic parking brake, so instead of the mechanical handle, you flick a switch to actuate it and deactivate it. And the advantage to that is without the mechanical handle and all of its mechanism takes up quite a bit of space. So in this case, with just that one switch, you can kind of see a little bit of it here. Obviously, it takes up a lot less space than that mechanical mechanism, so we were able to actually relocate the cup holders slightly rearward from where they are in the C6, which opens up more space for shifting. So even if you got something in the cups, you're less likely to hit them with your hand while you're shifting. So it really lets us take advantage of that real estate in the console a little better.
Is there more insulation in the tunnel?
Yes. For thermal, yes.
Yeah, you brought up Camaro, and you said you were currently driving a ZL1. Who do we complain to that the new Z28 is gonna be stripped of all its creature comforts, like one radio speaker?
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah, you can. Yeah, the ZL1 is an incredible all-around performance car. You know, it kind of does everything. And the Z28 is designed to be really focused. You know, that's just super hardcore focused track rat type car. So I think we kind of have both bookends there. Yeah.
Corvette, and I'm a fairly long legs. I find it very difficult to keep my right leg comfortable on a long trip. It's kind of pressing me in a sharp angle.
Mhm. Mhm.
Have you improved that in the C7?
Oh yes, the whole you can kind of see it right here. This part of the console extends forward all the way to the instrument panel. It's actually a soft wrapped piece that's got padding in it, so your leg is leaning up against a soft padded wrapped part instead of hard plastic.
What's the material on the center of the steering wheel outside the horn? Is that brushed aluminum?
Yes, it's all aluminum.
Does the 7-speed has the hill holder brakes and also the MyLink, does it have streaming Pandora?
Yes, MyLink does have Pandora streaming. Not sure about the brakes, so I'd have to talk with. Would be a question for Taj. Well, I believe the chart that Tad showed yesterday had the interior at 17 kilos or something like that, more than, or 17
We've
pounds
added a
more
lot
than
of
today's.
features, so all the features that we've added, we've optimized for mass.
So we're a little bit,
Magnesium seat back and some other features we've put into the car to get some mass down and get more features to the customer.
would say it's the same. Yeah.
Talk about any seat user testing or pressure mapping that you guys do on seats.
Yeah, they actually, I think Tad showed a couple slides of that yesterday, showing the pressure maps. Yeah, there's a lot of comfort evaluation and performance evaluation that goes into the seats. They equip them with sensors and drive them around tracks and do long distance rides on the road and that sort of thing. So I think Tad just showing the image, but yeah, you can see on the pressure map how much more of the body makes contact with these new seats than it did before, and that's really, you know, an indication of how the shape of the seat is working a lot better now than it used to.
This is more of an individual question for the two of you. Both of you have been working on this a long time, been around the interiors, put together with the colors. Your personal choice and your personal choice is what you would do.
That's pretty tough. That's pretty tough.
What would you build yourself?
Right now, today, I'd have to go with the Cyber Gray exterior and the 3LT Adrenaline Red interior. And with black wheels and red calipers as well. So next week I may have a different idea. I don't know. That's where I am right now.
I'm not as exciting as you are. I would go with the 3LT jet black with the green exterior. I like the green exterior.
On the adrenaline red 3LT, the black portion of the dash, is that the same left is that upgraded leather?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's all the upgraded leather, but it's the black leather.
The heads-up displays, they about the same,
No, it's all new. It's new technology. It's multicolor, high res. It's very crisp, very clean looking. It's very nice. Yeah, it's a big step beyond where we're at today with C6.
Can you talk a little bit about the convertible top, the materials that's going to go in it?
I'm sorry, I missed the last part.
The material that's going to go into the convertible top.
Mm-hmm.
I've read that it's really an upgrade to what's on the C6 top.
It is, yeah. There's, Kirk Benyon is really the expert on the top, but it's multi-layered. So there's more layers than today's top. It's warmer, it's quieter, and it looks really great because it's a really nice shape. It's stretched very taut. We had this in the studio. How in a traditional convertible top, you can see the material kind of webbing in between all of the bows. You have the bows going through there. The material kind of webs in between it. We call that the hungry horse. It's like a starving horse. You can see all the bones. And so with the new top, we really wanted to go beyond that and really get a clean, kind of smooth look to it. So and it actually it does do that. It's a very nice top.
Well, I've noticed on some of the tan tops, you get wrinkle marks.
Mm-hmm.
Will that new top show the wrinkle marks?
Some of that's inevitable just because the top is folding.
Black doesn't show it too bad.
Right.
The lighter colored tops have a tendency to show it.
The one car out here actually has a Kalahari top that's been cycling quite a bit, and it still looks.
Could we put that up?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was up. Actually, no, it doesn't have the Kalahari top. I'm sorry, it's got the blue top.